Okay, we are good to go. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to have you here. So, welcome to the Break Free from Self-Criticism and Boost Your Confidence, because one of the biggest things that we have going on is that inner critic, also referred to as the monkey mind, the inner voice, that inner self-talk. But that conversation that we hear in our heads actually never really serves us. So to tell you a little bit about me, I'm an advanced MACE practitioner, but I'm also a counsellor, clinical hypnotherapist, and a meditation practitioner. And I've spent the last 20 years helping people get back in charge of their lives, allowing them to be more confident, happier, and feeling more fulfilled using counselling, but now recently the MACE energy method. So welcome to you all. I hope everyone can hear me. I've got Frolan, my VA, in the background. He's going to be monitoring what's going on live in the group. And then we've got what's going on our Zoom. Any questions that you might have, I do have a question and answer at the end of this. This is going to be quick, short, and to the punch. So, because I know you guys are all busy, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to have a listen and hopefully learn something that you can put into application straight away and start getting back in charge of that monkey mind, that inner critic. So this is a step-by-step guide. So there's 5 steps that I've broken down very quickly that will help you get free from that self-criticism. And when we break away from our self-criticism, it naturally boosts our confidence because we start to feel better within ourselves because we're talking to ourselves better, if that makes sense. One of the biggest and the most probably important step is to recognize the power of self-awareness. Now, what this actually means is to understand the impact of self-criticism on your mental well-being and your self-esteem. See, if you're constantly talking to yourself and you're berating yourself and you're telling yourself off and you're calling yourself names, you're going to start to feel crappy. Now, they did an experiment with rice that, they had 2 jars of rice. One that was filled was given negative thoughts, and every time someone walked past it, they had to say something really awful to it. And then the other jar of rice, they were given positive and sent out lots of love. The jar that was being treated negatively started to get really dirty and started to grow like mold, and it looks really unhealthy. And the other jar that got all the love looked really healthy, clean rice. They also did this with plants as well. When we speak and treat plants kindly and lovingly, then what happens is that we're able to feel like the plant starts to feel like it means it's loved and it's cared for, whereas the one that was talked negatively actually started to wilt and eventually die. They've also, unfortunately, did an experiment with babies on this as well. So understanding the impact of your self-criticism and what it's doing to your well-being, not just your mental well-being, but your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, and overall the chipping away of your self-esteem. So these recognizing our self-awareness. So it's being able to identify the negative thought patterns that lead to self-criticism. What do I mean by that? We have between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts a day. And every single one of those thoughts are playing out in our heads. Now, some of them we're aware of, some of them we're not. The problem is that predominantly most of them are negative. Now, if you think about it, if you're constantly having negative thoughts, you're going to start to feel really crappy. So we want to be able to pay attention to these negative thought patterns that lead us to that self-criticizing behavior. One of the best ways to do it is, 1, start paying attention to what you're thinking. We're so busy in our day-to-day lives that we're not actually stopping enough to have a think about, what did I just think? All of a sudden, we might not be feeling so great. Maybe we've gone from feeling good to not feeling great like that. And that can happen because, someone has said something to us or done something to us, or we've realized something. But being able to pay attention to our thoughts, we can start to get charge of them. Now, a really good way of doing that is journaling your thoughts and your feelings to gain insight into your self-critical tendencies. So how do you do that? Pay attention to what you're thinking. Pay attention to how your thoughts are playing out in your head. What are you saying? The best way to do that is to just be quiet and listen. When you pause and you listen to your thoughts, you can actually hear them. Now, sometimes we're having great old conversations. This one's saying that one, and that one's saying that one, and then we're playing out the whole entire scene in our heads. I bet you we've all done that at some point. So by being able to take a moment, grab a pen and paper and start writing out some of your thoughts and your feelings, you start to get a real sense of what's actually going on inside. Because the thing is, just because you think it doesn't make it true. And you are not your thoughts. Because I want to leave this with you. If you're hearing your thoughts, they can't be you, can they? They are words that are in your head, and yes, they feel very powerful, and sometimes they feel crippling, but they're actually not yours. They're just words that have been given a lot of power over you. So once we start to notice our thoughts, then we want to start to practice self-compassion. Because we say things to ourselves we would never say to another human being. So you want to treat yourself with the same kindness you would a dear friend. When you think about how you talk to your friend, are you talking to you like that? Because you are with you from the moment you're conceived to the moment you pass. 24/7. You want to be your best friend. You want to be really liking you. You want to know that you can trust you and like you and love you and enjoy your own company. But in order to be able to do that, we have to be okay with what we're saying to ourselves. So we're talking to ourselves like we're beating ourselves up and we're saying really mean things. Would you say that to a friend? If your friend's going through a hard time, would you beat them up about going through the hard time, or would you offer them compassion? See, what we do for a friend, we want to do for ourselves. So how do we do that? Well, we start to learn, once we start journaling and writing down what we're noticing in our thoughts and our feelings, we then want to replace that harsh self-talk with words of encouragement and understanding. So going something like, oh God, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid for doing that. How about changing it around and going, that was a pretty silly mistake. I'll do better next time. We often will personally attack ourselves by putting the two words, I am an idiot, I am stupid, I am dumb, I am unattractive. And because we put that I am, we are personalizing it. Now, sometimes we do things that are a little bit silly. We make mistakes. We're human. Everybody makes mistakes. So you want to be able to accept that you're making a mistake. It's okay. It's okay to be perfectly imperfect. And when we can embrace our imperfections and actually start to love on them and like them, a couple of things happen. One, we start to feel more confident because we're embracing all of ourselves and not trying to pretend that part doesn't exist or beating ourselves up because we got that part. But also what happens is when we're embracing our whole beingness, other people start to embrace it too, because we mirror. So what we get from other people is because we're kind of feeling it and doing it to ourselves to a degree. So we want to be looking at, are we replacing our self-talk? How do we reword that? Calling myself a name, is that really being kind? Do you think maybe I just need to reframe that? And so you'll be able to look at things in a little bit of a different way. So self-compassion is definitely something that helps you to just enjoy being perfectly imperfect. From there, we want to challenge our negative thoughts. Now, in order for us to challenge something, we have to be aware of it. So we have to start paying attention. And that's by, like I said, by taking that moment and having a think. What did I just think? What was I just saying to myself? What's the language that I'm using when I talk about myself? Do I walk past the mirror and go, oh God, I'm so fat? Or do I, put makeup on and go, oh, you know what? I'm really not attractive. What are you saying? Are you trying to build your business and you're worrying about people judging you? Or are you judging yourself? I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to grow my business. I'll never be able to do what she or he's doing. We want to be able to pay attention to what are these thoughts that we're saying to ourselves, and we want to challenge them. Because like I said before, they're not our thoughts. Challenging the accuracy of your self-critical thoughts. So what that means is it really true? I mean, think about it. When we say something like, oh, I'm so stupid, are you really stupid? Or did you maybe just do something silly? Or maybe you just did something and then you're judging it to be silly. And maybe it's not silly at all. You are not your thoughts. Now, some of these thoughts that we say to ourselves, we can break it down even more and go, well, where'd they come from? Because I can guarantee that a lot of the thoughts you have are from people saying stuff to you in some way. And so we take on these thoughts and we keep playing them out. We don't bother questioning them. We don't bother pulling away from them and going, well, is that actually a true statement? What's the evidence supporting that thought? Is it realistic? Am I really stupid? Well, no. I mean, I graduated school. I can read. I can do math. I can drive a car. I can function in society pretty relatively well. So, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm not as silly as I think. So being able to go, where is the evidence to support that thought? Where did that thought come from? Because the other thing with thoughts, these negative thoughts, and this is that self-criticism that's going on, is they're just from the past coming forward. They're not new. If I was to ask you, think of one critical thing that you consistently say to yourself that you're aware of, because there's probably a whole bunch that you're not, but the ones that you're aware of. How long have you been saying it for? I bet it'll be years. And when you think about that, it's not a new thought, is it? So being aware is that, asking yourself, where is the evidence to support this thought? Is it actually realistic? From there, you want to then start to shift it and change it. You want to replace that negativity with a positivity. You want to become aware of your strengths and your abilities. We all have something amazing to offer this world. We all have a strength inside of us. We all have abilities. When we become aware of what it is, we can start to tap into that energy of it. So being able to look at, okay, I just had that negative thought. How can I flip that? I'm such an idiot. All right. How can I change that? What's a positive way of talking to myself? I'll do better next time. I learn my lessons. I can move on. I'm actually quite a smart person when I really think about it. So what we're doing is we're able to flip those comments around and start to shift it. Now, when we start talking to ourselves more positively, and here, I just want you to take a moment and just say some horrible things to yourself. I'm such an idiot. I'm so unattractive. no one likes me. You know, when you just take a moment and say a few horrible things to yourself, I bet you any money you're starting to contract. You're starting to feel a bit yucky, maybe a bit heavy, right? Now I want you to flip it. And I want you to say, look, I'm amazing. I'm so capable of doing anything I put my mind to. I can create whatever life I desire. I've just got to put effort into it. I'm a really good person. I am kind. I am thoughtful. I'm a good mum. I'm a good friend. I'm a good worker, whatever it is. All of a sudden, you're starting to feel like you're opening up. What we're saying will have that effect on us. So we want to be able to become aware of what are some positive things I can say about myself. And there's always something. There are good aspects to us, and there are the aspects that we don't particularly like. And we want to be able to be aware of our thoughts. So we've just been asked a question, we own our thoughts though. So I want to kind of show you that our thoughts, yes, they're in our heads. Yes, we're thinking about them. They're playing around in our heads. But when we can change our thoughts, they're not a part of us. If you think of it with like neuroplasticity. So what happens is when we think a consistent thought over and over again, it becomes a habit and then sets into be a belief. That thought that's constantly being thought over and over and over again are just words put together to create a sentence that we've then attached a hell of a lot of meaning to, right? But we can change that. By putting the awareness on the thought that's not working for us, we can actually start to reframe it. Now, what happens when we start to reframe is we start to light up a new neuron pathway. And that pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger the more that we change and say this more positive thing about ourselves. We naturally live in the high levels of life. Honesty, enthusiasm, integrity, and happiness. Have a look at little ones, like little 1-year-olds, little toddlers. They are so happy. They're feeling all of their emotions. So what's happening is that is our natural state. So anything less than that is just a negativity playing out in us. A negative thought is just that. So they aren't us. They're in our heads, but they're not who we are. They're just a string of words that we put together. We give them way too much power to. Well, hopefully that's kind of answered that question a little bit, but I'll if you have any more, we'll get to them at the end. But just so that understanding, when we can let go, so the other thing is too, is when we can let go of the idea that they are us, all of a sudden, it's almost like a detachment. We can step away from it and go, you know what, I actually don't like that, and I don't want that anymore, and I'm going to get rid of it. That is the power of us. So by practicing that replacement, by being able to transfer your focus into the more of the positive, then you're going to start to create that. That's going to start to make you feel better, and you're going to start to build up and become more confident within yourself. So then that leads us into, when we self-celebration. What does that mean? Well, we want to acknowledge our achievements no matter how small. Unfortunately, many of us, we don't tend to celebrate the small things. We tend to wait for those really big things to happen, and then we'll go, oh yeah, that was all right, I did okay. But think about a baby, right? We don't wait till the baby's running before we go, oh, well done. We cheer every step along the way. They go from, virtually not doing anything to sitting to then they start to roll, then they sit, then they start to pull themselves up on furniture, and then they start to try and shuffle themselves along as they're trying to get their legs working. And then they might let go of the furniture and they'll fall, but they'll get back up, and they'll fall and they'll get back up. And all the way along, we're going, well done, good job, keep going. We don't wait till they're running. So why aren't we acknowledging our achievements, no matter how small? When we can go, well done, that was a great job. on all the small things, what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to be able to go, you know what, I feel good with that. So we want to be able to, so keep a success journal to record our accomplishments. How do we do that? To be able to do that, we want to be able to go, okay, what are some of my successes? Write them out. Take the time to write them out. Now, I used the baby analogy just before because, you know, the baby analogy is simple, but, you know, it can be applied to anything. You know, think about when you rode a bike. You know, when we were learning how to ride a bike, our parents didn't wait for us to be riding the bike. They were like, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, and cheering us along the way. Or tying our shoelaces even. Like, it doesn't matter, or even just getting dressed. Any of these little achievements that we learned how to do when we were younger, we take them for granted, but they're still achievements. So we want to be able to look at the things and be able to be, you know what, I can achieve these small things. So being able to write it down just helps it keep you in your focus. And you want to celebrate the efforts. You want to celebrate the things that you're trying to achieve, those steps that you're taking, not just wait for the outcome. When you can do that, that starts to boost your confidence even more, and you start to get a hold of that inner critic. You start to be able to turn it off and change it. The other thing that we want to be able to do is step out of your comfort zone. Now, comfort zones is really like a slow death place, but it's safe. But you don't do any growing. When you're sitting in your comfort zone, you're not actually growing. So each time you step out of your comfort zone, you actually expand your confidence because you start to see that, you know what, I can actually do this. I'm learning something new. Did you know most adults don't learn anything new? What they tend to do is live in habits. Being able to go and learn something new creates new pathways in your brain, creates those new neurons. Every time we step out of our comfort zone and we expand, we start to be able to see that we can cope with life. We can do things. So we want to be able to embrace the growth mindset and view challenges as opportunities. That's a hard one to do, to be able to pivot a challenge and look at it as an opportunity for learning. But often it's, you know, when you can look at, okay, what did I just learn? What did this challenge just teach me? As opposed to getting caught up in the, you know, life is so hard, nothing's ever working for me, you know, I'm such an awful person, I'm so unlucky. These are some of the language that we might use when we're in challenges, and life will throw challenges at us. Life throws curveballs at us all the time. But it's how, the more that we can practice stepping out of our comfort zone and expanding our confidence, the more that we can trust in ourselves that, you know, we've got this, we can do this. And that starts to shift that inner critic and starts to boost our confidence. We start to be able to feel like we can achieve things. Then when we're starting to do that, we'll feel like we are being able to grow and get that inner critic under control. And eventually that inner critic gets quieter and quieter. So being aware of the inner critic, like I said to you guys, I said this is going to be fast and quick, but being aware of that inner critic is the key. Paying attention. What is it that you're saying to yourself? You know, what would happen if you were to write down that thought and then take the I am off the front? I am not good enough. Take that I am and go, not good enough. How much more power or less power does it have? When you disassociate from it, you take it away, then you've only got words. I am an idiot. Really? Take the I am and write the word idiot. How does it feel when you look at that one? I'm incapable. Really? Take the I am or the I'm away and look at capable, incapable. Am I really incapable? What does that even mean? What would that look like if someone was actually incapable? Incapable of what? What are you comparing it to? When you're saying I'm not good enough, what are you comparing it to? When you can take the time to write these thoughts down and break them down, you can see how they really don't have anything to do with the real you. And when we finally get in charge and we're able to push that inner critic to the side, we start to feel better within ourselves, we show up better, we start taking more action in our life, so we start creating different things in our life, hence outside the comfort zone, and life just seems to pivot and change greatly. So there's some really quick steps that you can do very quickly on a day-to-day basis, and with practice and time, you will start to really be able to, you know what, I don't like that, so I'm going to change it. You'll be able to pivot them really, really quickly. To the point then that those new neuron pathways that you're creating with the positivity will be stronger. It'll be like the new super freeway, and the old pathway will actually diminish, will actually get less and less and less and then diminish. So it will be a past thought. It will be like something that you don't even recognize you used to say to yourself. And every time you talk to yourself kindly, you're going to feel better. Hence why your confidence gets boosted. So I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, Fräulein's paying attention in the Facebook group for me. And if you've got any questions, just pop them in and Fräulein will let me know. But basically, remember that building confidence and overcoming self-criticism takes time and practice. The biggest thing is be patient and compassionate with yourself. So by incorporating some of these strategies into your daily life, you'll gradually notice positive changes. Because where you put your attention and your focus, that's where your energy flows. So if you're focusing on the positivity and the good things and the accomplishments and patting yourself along on the back on the way of your journey, where you're achieving the goals that you set for yourself, that's what's going to keep coming, because that's where your focus is. But if you're focusing over here in I'm such an idiot, I'm dumb, I can't do anything, I'm useless, I'm worthless, I'm blah, 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 then if you're focusing there, guess what? You're going to get more of it. You're going to get things in life highlighting that to you. That's how it works. So when you incorporate these strategies into your daily life, you'll gradually notice positive changes in how you perceive yourself and your abilities. And that's boosting your confidence. Is going to be an ongoing journey. So it's keep learning, keep growing, embracing your unique qualities. Because we can all create a positive and empowering environment where self-criticism has no place and your self-confidence gets boosted. So stay inspired and just keep bringing the more of the real you out, and just know any negative you thought has nothing to do with the real you. Okay, so we have a comment. You have taught me how to step out of my comfort zone by getting a new job and trying new things. It was scary, but so rewarding. Yes, Hannah, that is, yes, absolutely. So being able to talk to yourself in a confident way and go, you know what, I've got this. Outside our comfort zone is scary. That's why it's outside the comfort zone. Otherwise, it's comfortable, it's safe, and we'll just get really, it's okay. It's like a very comfy pair of pajamas. But when you want to change something fundamentally in your life, then you have to take the change. You have to take the risk. Obviously, you want to weigh the risk up. And you took that job, and look at, things are amazing for you now. So by being able to step outside that comfort zone, kick that inner critic to the curb, and empower yourself with more positive thoughts, your life changes. And that's what we want. We want to be able to shift and change these parts of us so we create the life that we want. So have a think about, how are you talking to yourself? How are you talking to yourself? Is it going to move you forward and create a really good life, or are you on repeat? Are you just repeating the same stuff you said to yourself for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Patting ourselves on the back, really letting go of that negativity. Start to really, even if it's just changing one statement. And even if you don't believe it, then we can reframe it a little bit. So, for example, if you go, I am good enough, but you don't believe it because you've spent the last 30 years telling yourself, I'm not good enough, then you can always put, I believe I'm on the way to believing, or I am on the way to believing I am good enough. All of a sudden, our subconscious goes, oh, okay, we can do that. It doesn't reject it so much. So, if you're finding that when you change to a positive statement that it doesn't sit, just add that little part in it. I'm on the way to believing the statement. I'm on the way to believing I'm good enough. I am on the way to believing I can deal with things. I'm on the way to believing I'm going to create the life I want. So putting that there in front of you is going to help. Just going to. So are there any other questions that we have? Anything that that you might want some answers to? Final thoughts? Being aware of, are we all clear on how to notice our self-criticism? How to pay attention to those thoughts? And, are you aware of how to do that? Because the best and quickest way I'm going to show you is if you just close your eyes. As long as you're not driving and you're not being unsafe, you're somewhere safe, you close your eyes and you just be quiet and listen. And if you're watching the replay, just pause it. Take a moment and listen. This is probably what you're getting. Am I doing this right? Oh, maybe I'm hungry. I haven't had any dinner yet. I've got to get that thing done because I haven't finished that yet. I've really got to organize something else. Or maybe you're going, I'm not really thinking anything. I can't really think of anything. Is there anything in my head? No, I don't think I've got anything, which is something, by the way, because you're thinking those words. So being aware, that is the first step in how to pay attention to your thoughts. Now, for everyone on here, as a little bonus, because we are talking about thoughts, I actually have a 3-part video series that explains to you how to pay attention to your thoughts, which is going to help you to recognize which parts of self-critic, like which are your inner critic, which ones are the criticism and being critical of yourself. So if you comment, just comment yes below, and I will make sure that we get that sent out to you. It's a really cool 3-part video series that tells you how to pay attention to your thought, how to pivot the thought, which will tie in very nicely to being able to kick that inner critic to the curb and help build your self-confidence. So just comment yes below on this video. If you're here on Zoom, just comment yes in the chat. We will get to you and we will be able to share that with you. It's just a little gift I want to give you at the end of this. And hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you can see that we don't have to live with that self-critic. We can get rid of it. We just got to change how we're talking to ourselves and believe in ourselves enough to know that we are worthy to be kind and loving to ourselves, just like we would to a best friend. Are there any other questions before we finish up, Froylan? Any other questions?
I think none, but we have some. Yeah, I think none. That's about it.
Perfect. Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward, if you're watching this on repeat, that's awesome. Just put hashtag replay, just so I know. If you're interested in getting that 3-part series, just comment yes below and on the video, and we will get that to you ASAP. But otherwise, Thank you very much. And I have enjoyed this time with you.
You're still live.